morning, listeners. Welcome to Rendez-Vous-With-Murielle, the podcast to inspire you to go for your dreams, love yourself, and become a magnet for people, opportunities, and love. Today, for those who don't know me, my name is Murielle Selflove. I am a relationship coach and the founder of Date Like a French Woman. And today, I have the pleasure to interview Ann Bordeleau so that she can tell us her story and empower us with her journey so that you can use this example and make the jump yourself to go for your dreams. So Ann Bordeleau is a spiritual energy chef. That's a very cool title, first of all, I want to say.
Thank you.
Self-care is the core of her passion, and she uses her abilities as a medium and expertise in energy clearing and mentoring to help empower men and women in bringing back clarity, focus, vitality, and the joy that they be missing in their lives. Since she was a child, Ann, without an H, that's my Franglish, Ann has always been her own human experiment, in that she consistently pushes the boundaries when challenges arise in order to overcome obstacles, and now uses that experience to help others remove barriers, increase their self-worth, and live the life they deserve. So in your bio, I realized that it started as a child. And that's very impressive because that's a God-given talent. That's not even something that you've learned growing up. And I would love if you could share your story with us, where it started and when you decided to really go for it and help people with creating a business based on those talents.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I want to first start by saying thank you very much again for having me on the podcast today. And even though my abilities started showing itself as a child, we're all born with different abilities. It's just we awaken at different points of our lives when we're ready for it. So for me, even though, yes, I did have a number of different things happen to me as a child, I wasn't aware of what was going on. I grew up in a Catholic family, and so there's a lot of stigma around being medium or psychic, and the spirit world or the. So I didn't really have anybody to talk to about it. I didn't understand all of that, and it wasn't until probably I was about maybe 10, 11 years old. I started getting like visitations from like really dark, lower energy types in the middle of the night. And they were always asking me to renounce my faith in God. And I would not do that. I always flat out refused. And it was around that time that the Amityville Horror, which is a famous true story about a house on Long Island, New York, came out in book form. And I had read the book, and then they also made a movie of it. And my aunt and uncle had taken my sister and I to see that movie when it came out. And I was just... for me, it was like too similar in terms of what was happening to me, and I shut down. I didn't want to have anything to do with any of that stuff. But I still retained some of the abilities though, because I was always kind of like the go-to person, whether it be, with friends. And then when I started in the corporate world, business colleagues, would always ask me, and I would like have answers to their questions. And it would just be, I don't know how I knew the answers. I just did. That kind of thing. And so it wasn't really until probably like close to 10 years ago when I took my first Reiki class. It was something that I had kind of like heard the word Reiki and was interested in, but didn't know a lot about. And a friend of mine called and said, hey, there's a free preview going on tonight at the local holistic center. Do you want to go? And I said, sure. I didn't have anything that night. And as soon as I crossed over the threshold into the center, my hands started on fire. And then I immediately signed up for the class that they had coming up. And I was at home practicing like a few weeks later after the class on my mom and dad. And I'm I just happened to look up, and my dad's friend Joe, who had passed several years before, was like literally like standing right in front of me. And I wasn't afraid. I was just kind of like, oh, this is kind of cool. But I'm like, what's happening? And then from there, I was like, okay, I need to find out what's going on. All of these different things then were starting to happen. We're starting to open up. And I went back to the Reiki master that I had taken the class with. And unfortunately for her, she was not, that was not her area of expertise. So she was not able to help me. But I did go to like meetup.com. And I found a Reiki share that was actually facilitated by two mediums, and they were able to help me and answer a bunch of questions and help me understand a lot better what was going on and learn about different techniques. And then from there, it just kind of went on. I did a number of workshops with other spiritual mentors. But there was just something that was drawing me to the energy clearing pieces of it. And John Edward, I'm sure a lot of the listeners here are familiar with him. He's a very internationally well-known medium. He lives on Long Island. And so a friend of mine and I were driving from New Hampshire to Long Island to attend one of his events. And sure enough, as we were driving along, one of the exits happened to be for Amityville. And so that was kind of like, the bricks landing on the head saying, okay, you're opening up for this, or you're ready for this. And it was literally just a short time before I was taking the class, the workshop, to be an energy clearer. So it just all kind of clicked. And then, so what the energy clearing did for me was it removed a lot of the dysfunctional energy that I had been carrying, not only in this lifetime, but in past lifetimes as well. Because, energy has that intelligence. And since everything is energy, everything moves on different vibrations and different frequencies, then it's natural that, we're going to have like different things that kind of like attach to our own energy field, or connect to our energy field. And so just by going through that class and then having other energy sessions as I progressed, and just clearing and removing all of that gunk, that fear and that anxiety that kind of like keeps us weighted down and stops us or prevents us from wanting to move forward. But instead, after being cleared, just have that freedom and that clarity and that focus. I was like, I knew that just with every fiber in my being that was what my calling was. And so it was to bring awareness about how energy works, and to bring it to the mainstream and make that connection, bridge that gap. And so it's just been a matter of over the course of the last year and a half that it has really been very prominent, and I've been making a lot deeper inroads in it. And that's because, we all have our own spiritual team that we tap into. Some of them will call, you may call them angels or guides, or, a divine presence. And it's just a matter of how we want to tap into them and listen to the information that they're trying to give us. And so a year and a half ago, I was still living in New Hampshire, and my team was like, well, you need to come to Las Vegas. And I was like, okay, my experience with Las Vegas, it's always about, the glitz and the glamour and the gambling. And I'm like, really? I'm like, could you have picked a worse spot for the, but anyway, it's like, okay, after, the initial shock, I'm like, that's what they need. That's where I'm needed. That's where I'm going.
You've been baptized by fire, because
Yes.
I'm not as talented and sensitive as you, but I can still feel the energy here. And it's very disturbing sometimes, especially when we go to the casinos and the street, the Las Vegas Boulevard.
Oh, definitely, definitely, because it is a very transient town. However, what people don't realize, though, is that there's so much more to Las Vegas than just this, what is it, 3 or 4 mile area, which we call the Strip. There's beautiful mountains and, the Red Rocks, which are very, very peaceful and calming. And just being able to, we're so close to nature. It's incredible. And so being able to get in touch with that and understanding the messages, and then now being able to bring the energy work to a business perspective, because, our energy is our calling card. And if we want to bring in the right people, the right clients, the right customers, the right employees, then we need to make sure that our energy is clear, so that by clearing the energy, you're also raising your vibration, and now you're vibrationally matching with other people of that same vibration, that's a higher caliber, that will now help you in your business. And so, yes.
I always explain, like an elevator, what floor you stop on, you're being matched.
Exactly.
That's the reason why I wanted to do that podcast, because people who stop acting toward their dreams,
yes,
it's an act of self-love. So you go up a level, and then you start meeting all kinds of people like us when we met.
Yes, exactly.
That vibrate at a higher level.
Exactly. And, it's not about like taking huge leaps, of faith. Yes, you are, depending on, what your purpose is here on earth in this lifetime, or what your calling is. You may be asked to take huge leaps of faith by, moving across the country or moving across the globe. But really, it's about just knowing that there's something else out there. There's something that you need to be doing, and just taking that little baby step, because that little baby step is going to get you out of your comfort zone. And then it's going to give you the confidence in order to be able to take the next step and the next step. And it's almost like invigorating, because it's like, oh, well, what's coming next? So instead of shrinking back in that fear of, oh, I don't know, that's, way out of my comfort zone, you're like, oh, what's coming next? What's coming next? I can't wait.
I know that's what it did to me. And I believe in energies. I work with energies in my coaching as well. I'm a Reiki master as well. But I know you cleared my house, and that's
yes.
the energy, not only in my house, but in me. But if someone doesn't necessarily believe in energies, you can still feel it if you don't believe it.
Right.
You feel like you feel yucky.
Yes.
All the time. Can you work, first of all, with people who don't believe in energies? Do they come to you? Or how do you present it to them? Because it's a pity to not use all those tools and people who have talents like yours to accelerate our results and to make us feel happier and lighter.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great question. And that's actually something that came up in the Reiki class that I taught last weekend, in terms of, well, what is the difference? So for instance, with Reiki, it's like, you're harnessing the universal energy. It's coming through you, through your heart, out your arms and your hands, and it's going into whoever it is that you're working on. And it's their body that's going to take that energy and use it. So you're just the straw. You're just the conduit for that energy, and you're just sending that positive energy, that love. With clearing, I'm actually removing those energies. So it's a matter of working with people to figure out what's going on for them in their life right now that they're having issues with. And it's literally like that onion, that description that they, or that analogy that they use, where it's, you're peeling back layer by layer. So it is a lot of like deep work, because it's very emotional and mental work to try and get through and process all of that. And then because I'm actually removing the dysfunctional energy, I'm removing it by the root, which is key, because just as if you were out in the garden and there you see the weeds, if you pull the weeds from the top and you leave that root base, then that root base is going to be stronger and it's going to expand more. And then the roots are just going to, or the weeds are just going to grow back, and it's going to flourish. So that's the biggest distinction between what I do versus Reiki, because with Reiki, you can send positive energy to anybody and you don't necessarily need their permission. It's always wonderful if they do, but you can still send that. With energy clearing, I have to have not only the permission from the person that is looking for the clearing, but also from my team of guides as well. Because what ends up happening is, if I remove some dysfunctional energy from the root, and then that person decides, well, I'm going to, they're great for like, a few days or a week or whatever. And then they're like, oh, well, I'm clear. I can go back and keep doing what I'm doing. And they fall back into those old patterns. Then what happens is, not only do they draw that energy, it's not the same exact energy, but it's on that same vibration. They draw that lower energy back to them, and it comes back to them tenfold. So for me, it's a huge responsibility to make sure that if I'm working with somebody and I'm doing an energy clearing on them, that they are ready and willing to do that work, not just in the session, but continuing on after, because I don't want anybody to ever have to go through that phase of having all of that stuff come back, because it's not a pretty sight.
Yeah, it's like almost, it makes me think of an addict.
Yes, exactly.
They relapse. It's even stronger.
Yes.
Do you give them, let's say you do a clearing on someone, do you give them exercises for them to be sure that they can stay strong or to not go and relapse? Are there things that they can do and continue working with you to strengthen their new identity, their new patterns?
Oh, definitely. Yes, definitely. So I have, from some of the training that I've taken, I have instructions on how to set up sacred space. So I always make sure to include that, so that because when people come in for a session with me, they're walking into sacred space. So not only is the room, the home, or the office that I'm working in, that is sacred space is set there, but there's sacred space around me as well, because they're actually walking into my energy field. And so that's my way of, that's kind of like their armor. I'm holding space for them so that any lower energies cannot come in and attack them while they're going through this clearing process. So there's definitely setting up sacred space. Also with my sessions, I provide text and email support. So if anybody has any questions at all, then they're free to contact me and we'll work through it. And if they need another session right away, then we can book that session just to keep them on the right track. But usually what ends up happening is, because when you're during an energy clearing, a lot of it is kind of like conversational, because we're talking about the different things that are coming up for them and what needs to clear. But the other part of it too is when I'm actually doing the clearing work, by removing those dysfunctional energies, their energy field kind of looks like Swiss cheese after. And so what I'm doing before they leave is refilling all of those holes with positive energy. And then because it's going to affect them on a cellular level, their energy field now has to recalibrate. And so it usually is going to take about 2 to 3 days after the session in order for that energy field to kind of like reset, and for the person to get adjusted and feel comfortable to this new way of being.
I know that when you worked in my house, I could feel the energy burning in me too.
Yes.
As you were working. And it took a few days for me I couldn't even think anymore. It was empty.
Yeah.
Sentences, and in the middle of the sentence, I was like, what was I going to say? It was like if I was a new me that I yet didn't know.
Yes, exactly.
Very impactful. And another question I have, because it is energy and we are all energy and we're all connected, I suspect that you can also work with people online, like using teleconference
Oh, definitely.
Or over the phone, right?
Yes, definitely. I can work with people at a distance, like, and yes, exactly, like doing a one-on-one, like Skype type call or Zoom call, or over the phone as well. And what normally happens is, as soon as the appointment is confirmed, not even when it actually happens, as soon as that appointment is confirmed, the energy, because it has that intelligence, that dysfunctional energy knows that it's going, and it's going to do everything possible to try and stay. So it's going to fight tooth and nail. So the person, I always send an email with with the confirmation and things to keep a lookout for. So for instance, cold and flu type symptoms, nausea, fatigue, lightheadedness, or brain fog. If somebody is driving to my office for a session, then I advise that they try and leave a little bit extra time, because traffic is going to play a factor. Or, things may happen with their car, and it's not anything major. It's just, little things that they might recognize, or, that are unusual. Also, if that person has a family, then they're going to use those family members as well to try anything that energy can do to stop that person from coming to a session or from getting a clearing session. And that's because, if, like, when we did the house clearing with you, and you got your clearing as well, it causes a ripple effect throughout your family as well. So they were able to clear, different things that was ready to go as well. So that's one of the reasons why it's such a big impact.
And what I noticed actually, so there is the energy aspect, and what I noticed is that I was thinking differently. My priorities have changed. Everything was much clearer.
Yes.
Because I live with my kids, I'm a single mom. I was more focused toward I love them through every interaction that we had. The challenges are the challenges, because with kids.
Oh yeah.
And all that, but I was so much more peaceful throughout the experiences that I was before, and it really impacted me really strong. Now, I didn't feel the attack or the lower vibrations trying to work on me when we scheduled. I didn't really feel that. So is it not everybody that is going to experience this kind of negative
Right. So, and you're actually one of the fortunate ones, and it's probably because of your own history with energy work. And so, the EFT and all of that. So you were able to, if anything did come up, then you were already like taking care of it. But for most people that don't have any kind of energy experience, or any kind of self-care practice, then this is definitely something new for them. And so, yes.
Okay. And as far as businesses, and energy work, I
Mm-hmm.
know that a lot of people who work with energy, people who are heart-centered, have a hard time charging. So is it something you can help them with too? Because I know discussing with, I met so many soul sisters in the
Yeah.
past few weeks, and a lot of them work with energy, but they have the problem of asking for money.
Yeah.
Is it something you can help them with too? Because it's extremely important. How did you make the jump? What was your train of thought or the guidance that you got from your guides that helped you have the courage to charge?
Well, one of the things that I did, because I fell into that category just like everybody else, and I always felt, I was always giving away my services for free, because if I knew that if I was guided to be in a particular place or whatever, and I met somebody, then it was for a reason, and they needed to have like a clearing, or they needed to have some energy work, and at the time that I started with, doing the energy work, I was working full time for a technology company. So it was more okay in order to be able to do that. And then when I realized that, no, this needs to be a full-time thing. This is what my passion is, and helping people to clear is my why. Then I had to get over that mindset. And one of the things that really helped me was I did work with a mentor specializes in spiritual businesses, spiritual entrepreneurs. And so, when you think about it, a business creates or has products and services, and then they determine a price based on what the value is of that particular product and service. And so the same thing works in the spiritual world as well. We have things that we offer, and it might not be as tangible to people as a regular business, a regular brick and mortar type of a business, but it's still a product or a service. And especially if we're doing this full time, we need to price accordingly, and that's one of the things that my spiritual team did help. They're always recommending, okay, you need to charge this or for this and this for that, and there's always a significance in the dollar amount, because it always has to do with the numbers and the sacred meaning of the numbers behind it. But it's like, even though I'm doing this, I still have rent to pay. I still have, need to buy groceries and so forth. And so when you look at it from that perspective, and then having the confidence in order to be able to do that, and it's really the confidence in your abilities, and knowing that even there are people out there that don't understand the energy world yet. That's changing. That it's still a needed service, and so we still need to charge accordingly in order to be able to do this and bring it to the masses.
Especially in your case, because you have talents that very few people have.
Exactly. Yes.
You were a very rare resource, if I could say, and so you deserve to receive. And also, do you help people with that, with setting a price for their product? Or do your guides sometimes, or their guides, give you like a number for your clients? Does it happen?
Sometimes they do. It really all depends on the circumstance. Because one of the other things that I do in a session is, you know, I'm like the messenger. So that old saying, "Don't shoot the messenger." Don't shoot me, please, because when I'm I'm tapping in and I'm talking to your guides, or your higher self, and I'm just relaying the messages to you that they have been trying to either get to you by trying to give you different signs, or different validations, and for one reason or another, and it's probably just like I said, it's an awareness. You're not aware that that's what's happening. So they use me in order to get those messages. So if pricing is part of it, then yes, definitely. One of the things that that I have been guided to share is, about discounts, and not just for spiritual businesses, but for all businesses. I know that it's very important. People, put out different kinds of specials, or they discount their services 10%, 20%, whatever, in order to be able to get clients. And again, that's all about, that vibration, that energy. Because if you have determined that this is what the price should be based on the product and the value that service or that product is going to bring, then by discounting it, you're then, instead of being up here at that high vibration, now you're going down. And so that's what you're going to end up being attracted to. So, and everybody loves a discount. Everybody is right now, especially with the economy, everybody is, watching their budgets. But if you're continuing to do that, take a look at what's going on in your business. Is that person that is using, or that's coming to you because of a discount, are they a repeat customer? Are they somebody that's going to actually build a relationship with you and continue to use your services? Or is it somebody that just had, a Groupon, they're just going to use you, one time, and then they're going to look for the next Groupon, or, the next business that does something similar, and then they're going to go to them. So that's one way of kind of like looking at it in terms of that.
So for people out there who are building a business, or even
Mm-hmm.
the ones who are successful, when would you recommend for them to come and see you? Is it when they're stuck? Is it on a regular basis as a maintenance, like gardener? When would it be a good thing for them to come to you to grow their business?
Yeah, I would definitely say, kind of early on, because then that's going to help clear away a lot of the fear. A lot of, especially women entrepreneurs, men as well. Men are being affected more starting this month, but women more so, because for some reason, somewhere in our childhood, we stopped, we have that low self-worth and low self-esteem. And it's almost like a total lack of self-love. And so for whatever reason, however that came about for them, that's what they've carried on, and myself included, into the adult world. So the earlier in the process that you can remove that fear, that anxiety, and help build that confidence, then the better off that you're going to be, the more firm that you're going to be. And so it's a matter of like having a conversation with like a potential client, and instead of shrinking back and being like, well, these are my rates. You have a great conversation about what you're offering, but then your voice lowers when you're talking about your rates, because you're so afraid that they're not going to use your services because of what you're charging. And it's more about, no, this is what I offer. This is what I'm charging. And if you need to think about it, then you know what, that's okay. These services may not be right for you at this point in time. And having that confidence to be able to walk away knowing that you're being in alignment with your calling and with your purpose, and the right clients, that's going to attract the right clients.
And actually, I had a session with my business coach this morning, and she was explaining that clients need to understand that when they invest in you or in your products, the energy goes in you and goes back right into them.
Exactly.
It's a full circle.
Yes.
And for that, they understand better, and they know that it has nothing to do with us. We're just a vehicle.
Exactly. And one of the things that that my business coach had said as well is, other people's finances are none of your business.
Yes.
And so we can't adjust our products and services based on what we think other people can afford. Because somebody can say, well, that's really expensive, but yet they will turn around and go on an all-day shopping spree, or buy a high-priced vacation. And so it's really a matter of priorities, and that's what we need, that as entrepreneurs, whether it's a spiritual business or any other kind of new business, that's what we need to keep in mind, is that the clients that need our services will find us, and they will be the right clients, and they will be the ones that will come back, and not only will continue to use our services because of the value and the experience that we provide, but they're also going to be the ones that are going to refer to their family and friends and their other business colleagues as well.
So where can people find you? Because I know you have classes, you have a lot of things going on.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to even ask you a question to see if it would be a fit for them, or get an experience of your work, where would they go?
So the best place to go is to my website, which is www.ann, A-N-N, Bordeleau, BORDELEAU.com. Or they can also find me on Facebook under Ann Bordeleau.
Okay, and I'll put the links into the description so that people can know right away.
Okay, thank you.
So the 3 questions that are my favorite questions, and that
yes,
relate a lot with what you're doing, are about self-love, because it's also a pillar of my coaching. So people don't necessarily understand what self-love is. They don't know where to start. It's like a weird thing. They don't know which side to grab it from.
Yeah.
What's the definition of self-love?
So my definition of self-love is taking care of yourself, and having to put yourself first. And, Elizabeth Gilbert, who is the author of Eat, Pray, Love, I had seen back when, many, many years ago, when Oprah had her show and Elizabeth was a guest, one of the things that she talked about was being selfish. And that really resonated with me, to the point that I actually wrote it on sticky notes, the 2 definitions of being selfish, and I taped them to my computer monitor so that I could see them every single day. So what we all think of, especially here in the US, because a lot gets lost in translation, is when somebody says you're being selfish, it means that by what you're doing is at the expense of other people.
It's negative usually.
It's very negative. But in actuality, the true definition of being selfish is being able to take care of yourself without it having a negative impact on anybody else. And then by doing that, you're now able to be in a better position to help other people. It's just like, it's very similar to, the emergency drill that the flight attendants do on the airplane, right? And what they say is, well, if the cabin loses air pressure, that oxygen mask is going to fall down. And if you're traveling with other people, put the mask on yourself first, and then help put it on your children or your traveling companions. And every time I use that example, there's always, several moms that are like, oh, well, I couldn't do that. I need to put it on my children first. And I understand that. But what they also need to keep in mind is, 1, your children have bigger lungs. So that extra, 2 or 3 seconds is not going to hurt them. And 2, if you put that oxygen mask on your child or your traveling companion first, and then God forbid something happens to you, who is going to take care of them?
Yes.
And so it really is extremely important to take care of yourself on all levels, the mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional levels, to make sure that you are right in order to be able to help other people. Because if you're not, then you're just adding to that chaos and that drama.
And what I explain also to moms and a lot of women, because we tend to be raised with, you have to serve everybody before yourself.
Yes.
Is the analogy or the metaphor of the well. if the well is dry, you have nothing to give.
Exactly.
Give without really having nourished yourself, you become resentful.
Yes.
It doesn't serve anybody. Your kids, your loved ones, they can feel it, and it's not a healthy relationship anymore.
Exactly. Exactly.
My second question is, how does self-love help you in your success in your business?
Self-love actually is what propels me to keep moving forward, because being able to take care of myself helps me to better understand how other people either can be helped by my experiences, helped by what I can offer, or just by example. I have some young nieces and nephews, and so I want them to know how important it is. And so I want to be a set a good example for them and for everybody that I come in contact with.
Um, so could you share like one or two self-love practices that maybe people can, to give them ideas of how they can start implementing that in their life?
Oh, sure. So one of the things that I like to do for myself for self-love and or self-care is I set one day aside, at least one day a month for self-care. And so I'll either start with a massage in the morning or some kind of like body work in the morning. I'll have my hair done, and then I make sure that I have something to do, something afterwards, like an event or something like that to go to in the evening. And then that way I'm not, somebody had used this phrase many years ago, and it just really stuck. They said, "Don't waste the pretty." So when you're all made up and your hair looks good and you feel fabulous, then yes, don't waste it. Don't go home and clean the house. Get out, and even if it's just to go to the grocery store, it's just, you're going to feel better about yourself, and that's going to show. That's going to be, your confidence level is going to be, like way up to here.
And energy-wise, on that day, you may be matched with the most incredible opportunity, find the love of your life or something.
Exactly.
Funny. So before we part, if there is one advice that you want to convey to our listeners, what would it be about energy or your work?
One thing that a piece of advice that I would impart is to be open to change, be open to possibilities and opportunities. I think, right now it's like my business is still, it's still growing. It's still expanding. And I think one of the things that has really helped that is just being open. If somebody presents an opportunity or a possibility, instead of kind of like shrinking back and being like, well, no, that's really not in my wheelhouse. Like, like a podcast like here, because how many people are going to listen or see this? And, I was very shy as a child growing up. So this is something that is like totally out of my comfort zone. But I'm embracing it. I've had a number of different opportunities that are similar, and it's just being able to rise to that occasion and take that chance. For this for me is another step on the journey, and that's what we have to do. We have to just keep moving and keep going forward, and not allowing anything to keep us stuck. And so that would be my biggest thing, is just be open to opportunities and possibilities, things that may have come up before in the past, that now it's a different shift, it's a different perspective. So take a look at it from a different angle and see how that can work for you.
So I'm glad you got out of your comfort zone and accepted to do this interview.
Yes. Thank you.
I know you personally, and I really love you. I know you walk your talk.
Yes, thank you.
I want to thank you again, and I want to encourage the listeners to go and check her out because she's amazing. And I wish you great success going forward. And I know we're going to come across each other because I need what you do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Murielle. It was, like you had mentioned before, like our meeting was definitely divine intervention. And so it's always such a privilege and an honor to be in your presence and to be with you. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. So we'll see you next week, guys, with another guest. And meanwhile, go live your life and be open to change. Anne was saying. For questions or to apply for an interview, visit datelikeafrenchwoman.com.